Hey y'all, I'm Allie Spears, and this is Ag Chicks, where we dig deep with the women who are helping to feed the world. I am so excited to be sitting down with Jenna Paulette today. This young woman is making waves in the Western industry and the country music industry as well, and I'm so excited to be chatting with you today. Jenna, if you wouldn't mind telling us about yourself, and I'm so looking forward to chatting with you today.
Oh my goodness. Well, I'm so happy to be here. Yeah, my name's Jenna Paulette. I grew up in North Texas and southeastern Oklahoma. Our family had a cow-calf operation on the Oklahoma-Texas line, Thackerville, Oklahoma. And we ran a commercial cow-calf operation where I fell in love with cattle and the Western way of life, and really country music too, because I listened to Don Williams and Gene Autry and George Strait and a bunch of hymns in the cab of my granddad's truck. And I just learned to love country music because people were singing about the things that I loved. And it made me want to help other people the way that I get to about country music and about life in general, because I was exposed to it.
Yeah, and I think country music is one of those special things because it really tells a story about a lifestyle. And I think that's why some of us connect with it so much, because we just love the story that it tells, and it reminds us of home.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. And, other than Gene Autry and Don Williams and George Strait, it was, my mom playing Dixie Chicks in the kitchen and us all cooking, and me hearing Wide Open Spaces and Cowboy Take Me Away and all these songs that made me just admire the life that I lived more because of what they were singing about. And then my sisters and I would sing all of those Dixie Chicks and Shania Twain songs on the back of a four-wheeler with crickets jumping in our hair, and it just made it so real, and yeah, I connected with it because of the lifestyle.
So at what point did you decide that music was really something you wanted to pursue?
Yeah, I was young. I think I always knew that I wanted to do country music, but when I was 8, I remember, or around then, I remember being in our gold Suburban that we had and singing Dixie Chick songs in the back seat, and my mom and dad looking in the rearview mirror and turning down the dial to see if I would be on pitch and on time when they turned it back up, and I was, and I heard my dad say, "She's got something." And it just stuck with me. So whenever I would see, the Dixie Chicks or Faith Hill or any of those people on those award shows, I would just imagine myself being up there at some point. And so I think I just always kind of knew that that's what I wanted to do with my life. And I really just feel like it uses every aspect of what God made me good at. And I knew from a very young age, I've always been singing in church or high school musicals or whatever. So I loved being on stage, and in college, I knew that's what I wanted to do. So I just pursued everything in college as if what I'm doing right now was going to be my occupation, and it just kind of bled into each other and worked out really, really well.
Yeah, and I think what you just mentioned as far as taking advantage of your time and doing it in a way that you were working towards what your eventual goal was, I think that's something that is awesome, that you knew that's exactly what you wanted to do, because you could like plan your career path through college and all that kind of stuff to really prepare, which I think has probably helped you be successful in all of it as well.
100%. And I prayed for a full ride to school wherever I was supposed to go, and ended up getting one to Savannah College of Art and Design in Georgia, which was so random to me. I mean, God knew I was supposed to be there, but I was like, what am I going to do at art school? I'd never taken an art class in my life. And I got to school and was in like drawing 1 and drawing 2. And I'm a Texas fan. Sorry. I think you go to A&M.
I do. Yes. It's all right. I'll allow it.
So I'm a Texas fan. So I would go into my drawing 1 class, and my teacher would be like, hey, Jenna, correcting my art because I was not good. And I found out that he played football at Arizona State. And so I would go by myself before that to watch the Texas game at a bar every weekend. And it'd be like on the little TV in the corner, and, the Georgia game would be like on the massive TVs. And then I would start watching the Arizona State game so that I'd have something to talk about with him when I got back to class on Monday. And he ended up pretty much doing my artwork for me, and we talked football, and that's kind of how I survived art school. But back to your statement slash question. When I was in school, like you said, I knew exactly what I wanted to do with my life. I knew I wanted to be in country music. And so I was supposed to declare my major, and had read an article on Kenny Chesney that he got a degree in marketing. And I was like, well, that is the only BA that this school offers. Everything else was a BFA. And I was like, okay, I'm going to major in visual communications, which is a marketing degree, advertising degree, branding degree, which is so important to creating a story that makes sense to people very quickly. And I'm a storyteller, period. That's what I do. And I knew it would be beneficial to me in the artist and commercial music capacity, and that I could apply it to anything in life outside of that too, into cattle. And because you got to market your beef, there's just a lot of things that it would be very important for. And I had a grasp on that when I was in school. And so I'd go into all my classes with all my professors and be like, I know I want to sing country music for a living. Do you mind if I do this project, but focus it on me and how to boil down what my brand is and how to communicate that to people and how to tell my story. And it helped out. I mean, I did copywriting classes, which copywriting is a lot like songwriting. You're getting an idea across in a very short amount of time and making people feel something. And that feeling is what motivates them to do whatever, you're wanting them to do or get out of your advertisement. Right. And it's a boiled down version of what a song is, because you're selling a feeling, you're selling a moment, and you're wanting people to jump in with you and experience it the same way. So everything that I did in college just helped me out in my career as a country artist. And it's cool because I would love to help other people be able to do the same thing I've been able to do, as far as creating a lane for themselves and creating the highest quality product, be it songs or whatever that they possibly can, and doing it with a lot of heart, because that's what moves people. So so that's my degree in a nutshell and how it kind of all worked together.
Yeah, and do you think your experience in your education has impacted how you tell your story through songwriting and all that?
Yeah, honestly, because this is a silly example, but it matters. So one of my professors, I remember him saying, Jenna, when I say the name Charmin, what do you think of? And I was like, toilet paper.
Right.
It's so simple. And the word Charmin does not have anything to do with the product.
Right.
But you know what you're getting, and the quality is the same every time.
Right.
And he said to me, Jenna, when people think about Jenna Paulette, there's got to be things that they associate immediately with who you are and what you represent. Because if those things are not clear, then when other people are spreading the word about what you're doing for a living, then they'll be able to do it in a really short and concise way that makes sense and represents you well, because you're the one building a brand that needs to communicate that quickly, and about something that a lot of people in this world in our technological day and age are very detached from, because I represent agriculture, I represent the cowboy, and I want to do it in a very real way. So it's helped me focus on what I want to represent, how I want to represent it, and doing it over and over again. Because the reason why we associate Charmin and toilet paper and any brand that you make, Apple even, it's a quick connection thing where there's been no missing link in them telling their story. And because it's been told over and over again, their name is immediately associated with either a product, quality, and a feeling. And for me, it's more the emotional side of things, what I represent and the history of it. But it's the same concept.
Yeah. Absolutely. I could not agree more with that. I think especially how you just touched on with this day and age of everything happening through, our phones or the internet. It's so important that you have a very clear message, whether it be, an Instagram page or a brand or songs, because you're connected to everything. And your name is connected. So people can make that association in a meaningful and positive light, obviously.
Yes.
That's super powerful. And I kind of want to switch gears just a little bit back to kind of your roots and growing up on your family's operation. How has agriculture and like the Western way of life really, and I mean, we talked about it a little bit with country music already, but how has that impacted the kind of way you, maybe the way you write songs, but then also kind of like your overall just like image and brand and persona?
Yeah. There's a few things that came to mind when you're asking that question. And one of them is that in agriculture, we are put in high stakes situations all the time.
Yes.
And it puts life into perspective like nothing else. And I think because of this day and age that we live in, we're so technology driven and quick and, like, I don't know, it's just, I was given the opportunity to see life through a very special lens that where there's weight on life and death all the time. And there's weight on work and grit and no give up. And all of these things that I think are really important to the fabric of American culture. And not even American culture, but just humans in general, just really, really important lessons that I think make life better and more valuable and sweeter when you realize them. And so I feel like because of getting to grow up in that atmosphere, it has changed my perspective on the things that I want to represent and the things that I want to sew into or help sew into the American patchwork quilt, that we have even now. And I mean, I tell people all the time, especially as a woman in country music, I never thought of myself as one that was at a deficit, never, not once. And that's because I had a granddad and an uncle that expected me to rise to the occasion. They'd say, there's a calf out in that pasture, go get it. I'm like, okay, like no real instruction even, just like go do it. Yeah. And you do not come back without that calf. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and you make sure it is paired up and, all those things. And so for me, it was being expected to rise to the occasion all the time, and the grit that was instilled in me, and the no quit, and the praying before every meal, and the honor for the flag, and just all these things that are just so beautiful about life that I don't think everybody gets exposure to. And it has shaped every aspect of what I want to represent, and the feelings that I want to let people in on in a really gentle way. Because I think there's a way to just create a lens for life that is so beautiful through song that, I mean, there's really just no other way to do it that gently. Because when you paint a picture for people that is beautiful, that, just pulls at something that's already in the fabric of who they are as a person, then it's a very unique opportunity to influence people because it's so pure and unforceful. I love that aspect of what I get to do, and the fact that I grew up looking at life through a lens of agriculture and just cowboying, because it's a special thing, and I want to share it with the world because of what it has brought out of me as a person.
Right. And along those same lines of sharing it with the world, I think music is obviously a really unique opportunity, because it doesn't, like, whoever listens to it doesn't necessarily, like, that could be anyone, right? Like,
yes,
it could be literally anyone. So the fact that you can capture the essence of that lifestyle and share it in that way is so unique. And I think you do an excellent job at that.
Thank you. It's an honor. Such an honor.
And also, okay, so walk me through the process that you have when you're like how does something how does a song start for you? Like, is it like just a thought or an inspiration? Like, how does all of that work, right? Because everyone has their own process.
Yes, everybody does have their own process, and it's different for me all the time. It kind of depends on how the inspiration strikes me. Usually I'll hear somebody say something really interesting, and immediately I'll think of the turn on the hook. So whatever they said is usually the hook. And then however I perceive it is what the flip would be at the end of the chorus. So whatever would make that statement mean something more than it already does. And so for me, it's that, and then hopefully and usually there is some sort of melody or chorus idea that comes along with it, and I'll just record that into my phone. And then I'll have writing sessions during the week. So I'll have like Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, or Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or whatever, usually a 3-day combination of, opportunities to write that song that I was inspired to write in a room with people that are really good at what they do too. So I'm very, very seldom do I write one just by myself, but some of my favorite ones have been written with just one other person. And then usually in Nashville, it's a combination of 3. So it's like, they call it a top liner. So somebody who's a hit writer who's coming in to just make sure every piece of that song feels like a hit when everybody leaves the room. Somebody that's a producer, so somebody that plays a bajillion instruments and get out of there with an example of what the song will look, sound, and feel like at the end of the day. And then an artist, so somebody like me who's got the idea and the lyrical content and all of the things that it takes to really write something that is real for people to digest through the radio. So yeah, so that's kind of what it's like. I mean, that's a combination of the commercial aspect of it and my organic process. And a lot of my process is me driving around in my truck after I've, heard, somebody say something, and I'm either singing or speaking into my voice memos on my phone. I think I have like 2,000 different things in my phone. I'm like, oh gosh, I might not ever hear that again after I write it down. Or if it's something really special, like Wild Like the West for me, I sang that whole chorus into my voice memos in my truck while I was driving around my publishing house looking for a parking spot. And then walked into the room that day with my buddy Jeb, and we finished the song in, I think, maybe an hour. I mean, it was really, really fast, but that song flew out of me. And like I said, the whole chorus was written when I walked in the room, and I was super inspired that day. And the whole thing was just in my head and heart, and I sang it into my phone, and it just was what it was. So yeah, sometimes it happens magic like that. And then other times it's like, I have this turn on the hook and I don't know what it looks, sounds, feels like yet. And you're chipping away at it for maybe 2 or 3 days, and finally come out with something that you think is worthy of the hook.
And so basically what I'm getting at, or what I'm getting from what you're going through right here, is it's a process, right? No matter if it's an easy one or if it's a long drawn out one. Obviously this stuff does not happen overnight, and it takes a lot of people for it all to line up and do everything be right. The fact that you have been able to do that, again and again and again, like that's such a testament to your talents and creativity and all of that.
Thank you. I just love my job so much. So I'm lucky to get to do it.
And how cool that you get to say that, right? I mean, so many people go through life and not truly enjoying what they get to do. But I think too, something about that, in my opinion, kind of comes from agriculture and this whole lifestyle, because we see so many beautiful and hard things every day on the ranch or whatever it may be. And so I think we chase that a little bit. And so and
we want it to hurt a little bit good, when it's like a good song, you're like, ooh, felt that one in my soul, so good, right? Yes.
Well, and you also have a brand new single coming up, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, you are not mistaken. Finally, I feel like we've been teasing this one for a while, so I can't wait for it to be out.
And I love the Texas connection too, so I can't wait for it.
Yes. Wait, where do you live? Are you in College Station?
I am in College Station. Yeah, we live just outside of Bryan is where we actually live, but yes.
Cool. Sweet. Awesome. Yeah. So Texas forever. So that song, I had the idea in my phone since like 2017. I had just the hook of it, which is, "You've got away with that lasso, pulling me back to El Paso." I only had those 2 lines. I think I brought it up in, oh goodness, like 6 different writing rooms that I thought maybe the place where that song got written. And then finally, when I was in the right room, the right day, I didn't have a melody or anything for that idea. I just had that hook. And sorry, my mom is organizing flowers in the kitchen. Hey, Mama, Tracy. So I walked into the room that day and I just spit out the hook, and they were excited about it. I mean, all over it. And it was one of those songs that just, I think I wrote it in 2019, late in the fall. And it just fell out on paper. We were all on the same page. It felt really cool. I got the demo back that day and I was like, this is really special. But it's one of those songs that's slower. So you want to have enough momentum built up before you release something like that, that, feels, you just want to give people something to drive to for a while. And then you can release something that, they can drive to as well, but just feels a little vibier so that they know not, because I love slow songs. I do, but that is not the type of show I want to put on. I want to put on a very high energy show that has moments where there are slower songs. So we wanted to make sure that was established before we put out a song like this. And ever since I wrote it, everybody in Nashville has loved this song. So I knew it was special as far as the industry goes. And then when I would play it on the road, people would come up to me afterwards at the merch table and be like, that El Paso song, that's what's going to make you. And I was like, okay, so I'm super excited. But it's about loving what you do for a living, but also missing being home when you're away. And the best way for me to say that was that hook. You got away with that lasso pulling me back to El Paso. Like, even though I do love what I love, you're always tugging at me to come back home. And so, I'm really excited for people to hear it and for the video to come out, because we have a really cool partner, which is Dickel Bourbon. And my look for it, I call it my prairie godmother look. And you'll see what I mean when the pictures and video come out. But the dress was just very almost saloon girl, but in a really avant-garde way. And I'm out on the West Texas prairie, and it just turned out really cool. So I'm super excited about it. But I cannot wait for everybody to hear that song and see that video.
And that's going to debut May 6th, correct?
May 6th. Yes,
okay.
yes.
Awesome. Well, then I can't wait to listen to it and see the video and all the kind of stuff. So I'll be counting down for sure.
Thank you.
And then you also have had some other very exciting things occur lately. You have been named CMT's Next Woman of Country for the class of 2022. So what has that been like? I remember watching Courtney DeHoff tell you, I feel like, on your story or her
it's so funny because Court has been around me for some of these very big moments in my career. I love that girl so much. We hit it off. Goodness, I think it was 2020 in June. I was home in Texas, and because 2020 nothing else was happening, so I was just working on friends' ranches and doing as much as I possibly could at home. And so I just DM'd her and I was like, hey, I'm coming back from Weatherford and would love to meet up with you and just kind of sit and get to know you a little bit better. And she was like, yes, okay. So we met for wine, and I was still wearing my spurs and stuff from riding. And it was the perfect, fancy lady cowgirl moment.
Yes.
So, and we just hit it off so well. I love her. So anyway, she's been a part of some big moments in my career, just being there for the announcement of them or when I found out or whatever. And so it just felt so natural for her to tell me about that in Vegas when we were at National Finals Rodeo. So, and I'd been performing every night and I was so tired, and I was like, why are we going to a fancy dinner tonight, to my manager? And she was like, it'll just be fun. And I was like, okay, it's with Court and Indy and it'll be so fun. And it was late, because I was singing with Aaron Watson that night later and at the buckle ceremony. And so we went to dinner, and the Next Woman of Country thing I'd wanted for so long. There are just some things in your career and in your life that you just dreamed about for so long that you then forget about them because you put your head down and kept working. Yep. So you're not thinking about whether people are noticing you anymore.
Right.
And that's kind of nice, because then when things do start happening, it's just a really cool surprise. And you weren't doing it for that. You were doing it because you were doing it. And so anyway, we sat down to dinner and ordered a drink, and I'm just sitting there, like I have no clue that anything's going on. And I didn't even realize that my manager had pulled out her phone to start recording us. And Court picked up champagne, which I thought it was weird that she got champagne. So I was like, what? Because I got like a tequila soda, like nothing special. And I was like, okay, maybe she just drinks champagne all the time. She is a fancy lady cowgirl.
Right.
And she was like, okay, we're going to do a toast. And I was like, all right. I mean, we're at National Finals Rodeo, sure. And she was like, to the next women of country, Jenna Paulette, or whatever she said. And I was like, what? Like, just started crying, because I remember in 2019, there was so many good things happening in my career already. And I was at the luncheon that they throw for the next women of country, and I didn't have the honor that year. Mm-hmm. And I just remember thinking like, oh, gosh, what is it going to take to end up in this company? And I remember one of the men that works for CMT, who had been an advocate for me on the network, saying, Jenna, what you're doing is so special. It's so well-defined. It's so high quality. It's so all of these things. And I was like, oh, if he thinks this, like, what does that mean? And why am I not in that group yet? Like, do other people not, or whatever? But what I found through all of it is that God's timing is so perfect. And sometimes we can't see what's around the bend, because I feel like all the momentum that would have been gained from that in a year like 2020 would have put me at a deficit, because you can't ride the pendulum of success that came with that without following up. And there was no opportunity for that in 2020, and God knew that. So the timing of it was perfect, and I'm so honored, and it was so fun to have Court be a part of letting me know. And it's just incredible to be in that company and getting to see, like right now, even so the COVID stuff is kind of falling away, which is great. And because CMT is part of a Viacom company, all of their restrictions were super, super tight. So even last year I would have never been able to walk the carpet, and all these things that are so fun. And so the timing is just perfect about it. And I'm just so grateful for it and for what it's doing for my career right now. And I mean, it's a dream come true, for real.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then also you just got to go to the CMTs as well. Was that the first time you had been, or no?
Yes. Oh yeah. First time ever. The red carpet is very intimidating. I didn't expect like the 100 cameras that were literally like, you don't know where they are. You're like, you're walking in this like back lane sort of thing, and you're on the pink carpet, but you don't know where all the cameras are. And all of a sudden my publicist was like, all right, go, and turned the corner, and I had that slit in my dress, and my kneecap was literally like convulsing because I was so nervous. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is happening. And they're all yelling at you. They're like, Jenna, look over here, smile, head down, hat back. Well, like they're just yelling all of these things, and you have to be really good at taking direction, which is much like working or sorting cattle. Mm-hmm. So I was prepped for it. But it was just a freaking blast. I loved the opportunity, and I was in the middle of moving when like we were all picking out outfits, so I didn't have anywhere to send my clothes. So I ended up only having one option of things, like whatever to wear, and then that blazer that I wore with it, which is Bone Basics. I had it in my closet because I wore it for an Ian Munsick show at National Finals Rodeo. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I guess this 2-piece dress and this blazer go good together, and I'll just throw my American hat on and roll with it. And it worked so good. I mean, the shoes that I was wearing, I had for 3 years and never worn them. And it's just like, God knew I was going to need them that night. And it just ended up being perfect, but it was the grace of God that it turned out the way that it did, because I literally tried that outfit on Sunday night, and then the red carpet was Monday.
And then you were like on a ton of best dressed lists too. So
it's wild. I'm like, that's why I feel like I just can't even take any credit for it, but I'm like very grateful. I mean, it was so crazy. And my publicist said that to me on the carpet. She was like, you're going to be on the best dress list tonight. And I was like, yeah, right. Like nobody even knows who I am. And she wasn't wrong. And it was wild. Like I had like my extended family, all my cousins like, oh my gosh, did you see this article? You know, like it was a dream come true. I mean, seriously, it was just awesome. And then getting to talk about Cody Johnson on the red carpet, because I respect him so much, and getting to be there when he got an award for best male video, and for it to be a song like Till You Can't, that was so special. And then the 1883 Faith Hill and Isabel May were there, and it was a cool night for it to be my first.
Yes.
Because of what was represented there. And it was just really, really, really cool. So
well,
I'm
very jealous because it looked like a blast. And like you said, how perfect that it all lined up perfectly about the COVID situation and everything. And then that got to be your big revealing party and everything like that. So that's awesome. And I love the fact that the outfit was a last minute occurrence of events.
Oh yeah, there was no planning. Oh yeah, I mean, and honestly, I was like, okay, now I cannot take credit for this.
Well, Jenna, I want to say that as another woman in the industry, I definitely find you as a role model, not only for what you've done to kind of pave the way for women in country music, and especially kind of being young and kind of going through all of this as a just working hard and getting determination and getting through it all, and coming out with a positive way that you handle things, and the things that you are willing to be on my podcast and all that kind of thing. So thank you, and I appreciate all of that. But also I think you're a role model to young women in our field and industry as well. And if there's something that you could share maybe to some of those who might be listening, what might be something about that? Yeah,
so I would say pray that you would recognize what God made you good at and what makes you feel alive. Because if you can recognize that at a young age and just decide within yourself that you're not going to stop until you get there, and that you trust the Lord to provide the whole time, you won't, I mean, you will feel so much fulfillment in your life and so much purpose. And those are the kind of things that you want to pass down to your kids at some point. And so if you have that focus from a young age, and I just feel like God blessed me with that. And I had some really great people that helped me recognize what I was good at. But if you can recognize that at a young age and keep doing what God made you to do, then you're going to inspire a lot of people to be who God made them to be, and to not give up until they see that thing come to full fruition. And it's hard. It's hard to hold on when you feel rejected, and when things aren't going the way that you want them to go, and when you're not getting the recognition that you have desired for so long. But those things come with time. They come with humility. They come with somebody telling you when something's not good enough, and you saying, yep, you're right, and making the necessary adjustments to become all that you can be. And but yeah, I think it just starts with being able to recognize what God made you good at, and then just following through on that over and over and over again, so that other people can see that it's possible to do and be all that you were made to do and be.
Yes, I could not have said that better myself. Jenna, congratulations on all of your recent successes, and I cannot wait to see what else comes for you. And thanks for joining me today. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Allie.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Ag Chicks. Don't forget to follow along on social media at Ag Chicks on Instagram and Facebook, and that every episode has a visual version on YouTube on the Ag Chicks channel.